it's the unique voice of every human that gets to be a creator and to act in that space. So that in itself is a form of rebellion, to stand up and say, this is my voice, this is my truth.
After a quick summer refresh, we welcome our artists, patrons, creatives, and rebellious individuals back to Artful Pods of Wisdom, where we dive deep into the creative minds that push boundaries and challenge the norm. Today, we explore a theme close to the heart of every artist: rebellion. Art has always been a powerful act of defiance, a way to resist the status quo and create a new vision of the world. This month, we're inspired by the idea that authentic art is not just a product of creativity, but a profound expression of identity and truth. It's an act of rebellion against conformity, an assertion that each of us has a unique voice that deserves to be heard. In today's episode, we're joined by Jamie Bickler, the brilliant mind behind the Laughing Raven designs. Jamie's work embodies the spirit of rebellion, not just in the art she creates, but in how she lives her life, authentically, boldly, and without compromise. Together with Robyn McNair, Lindsey Barfield, and your host, Sofia, we'll chat and explore what it means to live and create with this rebellious spirit, and how it can inspire us all to see the world through a different lens. Let's join the conversation.
I think you get a two-prong approach with me. So you look at you walk up to my booth and you see my stuff. And then you think, wow, she's kind of all over the place. And then you meet me, and I am very unfiltered. I don't hold back. I pull punches because I can be very blunt and direct, but I also am trying to connect with people. And so there's that combination that you're experiencing where you're seeing the art, but you're also seeing the artist, and you're also seeing a real person that is not a salesperson per se. It is a person that is living very out loud, very proud, very open, and very willing to be real in a way that I think Southern California misses a lot of the time. Like, having grown up here and having gone through the school system, especially LA County school system, it doesn't have a lot of money. And so, I've met people oh, I took jewelry in my high school class. I'm like, what? I had auto shop, we didn't have that. And so it's, I think that it's a new exposure for a lot of people as soon as they walk in the door.
In the process of art, we explore, connect, and find ways to express our unique voice. In a world dominated by conformity, the courage to live authentically and unapologetically is what truly connects us on a deeper level. When we choose a piece of art, for example, or furniture or clothing, we're not just buying a product. We're engaging in a shared act of expression. We see the artists, and in their creation, they see us. Together, we embrace living out loud, unfiltered, and true to ourselves. But in a society that often values sameness, how do we ensure that this connection remains genuine and not diluted by commercial pressures? Let's listen to the conversation. When I hear you talk about that kind of in-your-face art, and one of the biggest parts of I know as an artist and the statement of being a starving artist. So you want to sell your stuff. So then the question becomes, are you selling you?
Of course.
And then if so, where does the line, or where does that fine line of authenticity and non-authenticity to be able to market yourself come into play?
Right. Well, you have to make the connection. People have to make the connection with you. So if you're the rebellious artist that's just a jerk, your art may go far, but nobody's really going to like you, and they're not going to feel that connection with you. And I feel like I connect pretty deeply with people. around my art. There's a lot of tears. I mean, there's people will tell me stuff that and then they always say, I can't believe I'm telling you this. And it's because there is that authentic connection and that feeling. Sometimes they don't even know how pent up they are until they start talking to me, and then we go places that they're just blown away that they've gone with a total stranger. And those are generally the best acts of rebellion that I can say, because we live in such a superficial world.
Who you are versus who you should be. I think a lot of folks, especially in the era I grew up in, as Sofia started to say, you're not allowed to be an artist. It's always like I'm a mechanic and I play the guitar, right? It's an and statement. Even we have parents today who believe you can't find or earn a living at being an artist. Also, I think it's truly what you're saying, the motivation. People need to know your story, and most people aren't necessarily going to like or buy your work. You can't do it for the sake of commercial, because the moment artists, even Daniel Pink in his book Drive talked about motivation. And when artists became commissioned to do things, they lost their motivation and their authenticity.
Navigating the fine line between staying true to ourselves and meeting external expectations is crucial. There's a delicate balance between creating art that resonates with our own truth and connecting with an audience. It's a reminder that rebellion isn't just about breaking rules. It's about forging meaningful connections through those acts of defiance. In a space where learners are encouraged to take risks, grow their understanding, and be brave as they journey into the unknown of learning new concepts and skills. Making intentional and meaningful connections to each other and to the world around us becomes even more critical in the act of creating and being.
When I connect with people, I am assuming they don't know anything about what I do, and I'm trying to connect with them on the realness of what I do rather than the fakeness of what is potentially more popular or trending, or they've been told they're supposed to like, or the noise that is the I'm a designer, and which means I'm an importer, or the piggybacking off of whatever somebody else is doing. It's trying to get through all of that noise to create the connection that I think is really the important thing.
Another thing that came up for me when you were talking before too is artistic literacy and helping people to build a language of understanding, to even appreciate what you do, to be willing to invest. I think that's what we're trying to do in the work that where we're at, is to create a body of humans who are willing to invest, because it is an investment to purchase art. But also this idea of civility and rebellion. I do see a lot of artists who want to take charge and go out and cause disruption, but in ways that are attacking. And then it is off-putting, and it makes the artist community look difficult. And then we're relegated over here to be...
I think addressing the audience that you're creating for, because I am in a sense creating for an audience here. When I lived in the Seattle area, I was creating for a different audience. They were a lot more literate. They were a lot more edgy. They were a lot more willing to play, and they were also a lot more literate in general. And so I could be more brash. I could be more abrasive, and people thought it was hilarious, and they loved my work because of that. Here, I have really embraced nature and empowerment, and it's also maybe the season of my life too, because I am more settled. I'm no longer in my 20s. I'm no longer in my 30s. I'm in my mid 50s. So what inspires me has changed over time too. And so maybe my act of rebellion now is a little less in your face, a little less um, pun and sarcasm and snarky. And now it's maybe a little bit more embracing of trying to bring environmental awareness and trying to bring empowerment to women in my jewelry making. One of the pieces I did last year that was super random was I made a rocket ship that a friend of mine had made this little glass marini, which is this whole drawn cane thing. And it had a little African American person in this tiny little cabochon. And so I put her in the rocket and I called the piece Mae Jemison, which was the first American woman in space. And who knows what I'm making that piece for? I just made it. And then this woman comes and she's somebody that has purchased from me before. Turns out her grandmother was one of the women that worked at NASA before NASA. And so she ended up buying it from me. And then recently she just sent me a picture of it wearing it on Juneteenth, which to be honest, I have a bare literacy of what Juneteenth is, and a bit, I get it, but I don't because it's not mine. But to feel like I connected with her on something that was truly hers and her culture, was amazing. And you can't script that.
It's the power of art to make those connections where you don't even intend them to be. You just said you made it for you. It was just something in you that came out and put it out in the universe, and the right person who that needed to belong to came and found it, and it led to this whole nother level of story.
Art isn't just about what's popular or trendy. It's about cutting through the noise to create something real. Whether you're a working artist or a patron of the arts, every piece of our lives is a mosaic, a connection forged between creator and audience. In creating for an audience, we're not just challenging societal norms. We're building something meaningful that transcends individual stories. So how do we, as creators and educators, ensure that the art we produce or support continues to build meaningful connections and inspire others beyond our original intentions, while fostering a deeper artistic literacy that appreciates both the art and the stories it creates within our communities?
Now I'm thinking, what is your inspiration? Also, all your various explorations, because we're not necessarily in our work in arts education trying to create every person to be a professional artist in whatever discipline. We are asking people to learn how to think like an artist. And several of the competencies that we want people to have are to be comfortable with ambiguity, to ideate, come up with lots of ideas. And what you just described is transdisciplinary research in service of your idea.
I want to do a shout out to my mom real quick because she was a 30 plus year educator, and she got acknowledged by Good Housekeeping, and she met the vice president because she was voted in as this leader of readers. And what she did was she took, remember the old Sears catalog?
Yes.
So she taught LA school system, and so she would bring the big Sears catalog in, and she would have these kids look through and find things for their family, and then write about why they want to get this thing for their family, or why they want to get this thing for their mom, or why they want to get this thing for themselves. So it was a way of cross-disciplinary pollination of ideas of retail and writing and reading, and so she taught me how to think outside the box and get my inspiration from different things. So I find things like I cruise the aisles of Michael's, and I just think, oh, how can I use this? And how can I use that? So I end up using scrapbooking stuff to create some of my molds. I use rubber stamps to create some of my etchings. So there's always stuff out there. And I love just taking classes. I've probably taken about 40 art classes in my life, and I'll do a lot of different stuff because you never know what's going to spark you. Like maybe you take a class in clay and then you figure out a way to touch the clay with the jewelry and incorporate that, or maybe you're setting things that you made in clay, and you just keep going until all of these things that you've learned start to spark your imagination. And I just think that classes are one of the best things you can do. And fine arts centers are the most economical way to take classes because they go on for a long time. They're inexpensive. They're usually part of a park system, or they're standalone, but they're a great way to start learning new things that can expand what your current thing is.
It's clear that rebellion doesn't always look the same. It can shift from bold, in-your-face defiance to a quieter, more nuanced form of resistance, one that embraces nature, empowerment, or environmental awareness. This evolution reminds us that rebellion is not static. It grows with us as we explore new ways to express and challenge the world around us, inspired by what we see and the connections we make with others. The power to play, to feel a flow of inspiration, and to go against the grain to spark creativity are all acts of rebellion in both creative expression and self-creation. Let's listen to the conversation.
We're bombarded by a lot of confinement in our lives, and art is a way to go beyond that confinement, and it can bring such joy. And if you take a painting class and you realize I don't like it, I'm uncomfortable with it, then take a clay class, stick your fingers in clay. But finding that joy is really the basis for all of the potential success in both yours and your students' careers, lives, whatever. Even if you're teaching a kid that's destined to become an accountant, and you talk about the importance of joy in creation and in this whole other offshoot that you could be doing, it opens up an idea that this is possible for you in your life.
We were talking about, you said something to the effect of, I'm not the most talented, but look where I'm at. And you said, often we get in our own way. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because that might be the space as an educator that we're in, right? How do we get out of the way for our kids to just be who they need to be too?
Yeah. There's the self-criticism is a killer, man. You're always striving for perfection. And, it was a huge, I'm a little bit of a Virgo in that I am kind of a self-sabotager or self-critic, a bad self-critic at times. But I've kind of gotten over that a little bit. I kind of feel like continuing as an educator to stop the negative self-talk as the creative process is happening, I think is crucial. Because as I've taught classes, the thing that I've noticed is somebody will say, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't make this straight. I can't do this. Or, when they look, or they're looking at rings on their fingers. My fingers are too fat. My fingers are too skinny. My fingers are too bony. My veins are too big. No one notices this stuff but you. And nobody cares but you. And so getting over that caring of this stuff that is blocking your ability to freely flow in the creative process is important. And I think as educators, stopping the negative talk from your students as it's happening, as you see it happening, and redirecting it is, I think, essential, along with the praise that comes with, look at the way you did that spiral. Look at the way you're doing this. Look at this use of color. Look at this that you're doing. That's really cool. How you present yourself to the world is the biggest act of rebellion you can have. because it impacts every single person you are interacting with. Every single person, every single kid, every single adult, how you treat people and how you, and this was a big learning thing for me because I could be super impatient and rude and abrasive when somebody was slower or was impeding my progress, and learning how to navigate my impatience and was huge in that. I feel like most of the time my connections with people are pretty good now because I have done the work for myself. And part of that is creating peace within yourself and joy within yourself. And part of that is art.
Ultimately, rebellion is about more than just breaking away from the status quo. It's about creating a life and art that reflect who we truly are. A life filled with risk, exploration, and a refusal to settle for the ordinary is a testament to the power of living authentically. By doing so, we create space for others to do the same, just as artists have done throughout history. When we feel confined to conform, driven by career and financial goals, we often lose sight of our individuality, and with it, the joy, the passion, and the humanity that make life meaningful. In a world full of financial inequities and limited possibilities, how can we create environments where everyone can experience joy and passion through simple acts of creation and play, and thus, rebellion?
Everyone can create. Everyone can do this. It's
Absolutely.
to the level that what you want to do, and everyone can learn. It's just being willing to be vulnerable, willing to get past all the things of comparison and I'm not good enough, or things that get in your way of finding the joy. The joy is what we want to have to flourish. So that's really beautiful, all the things that you just said. And I'm very curious about your process.
It's never done.
Amen.
It's never done. I mean, I think I actually started that honey line about God, probably almost 10 years ago now, when I first started to just start to make stuff. And I'm still making stuff in that line. And I'm retiring old designs that aren't serving me or that I don't like the look of anymore. I'm bringing new things and new explorations of how to use that honeycomb shape in a jewelry context. And yeah, I feel like when I'm always kind of surprised at different artists that I'm surrounded by and some of the stagnancy I see. And I just think, are they not enjoying it anymore? Are they too worried about the money part of it? Is the rest of life just kind of dragging the fun out of their medium from them? I'm not sure, but I feel like I pay pretty dearly with my body in making jewelry. It hurts my neck. It hurts my shoulders. I have to have regular massages simply because my body hurts from doing this for as long as I have. So if I'm going in the studio, it needs to be a place of creativity and joy for me. And whatever I happen to be interested in at the moment, whether it's, thinking about that dinosaur bone that I picked up 4 years ago and haven't done anything with, and seeing somebody come by with a little spray painted T-Rex on their arm and thinking, ooh, I'm going to make an etching of a T-Rex and put that on the back of the dinosaur bone. So it's going to create this whole look to it. And then following through with that, taking the time that's necessary to do all of the new things. If you get caught up in the money aspect of it, you don't do the exploration. You stick with the safe, you stick with the stuff that's going to make money, and then slowly your creativity and your joy in your medium, I think, suffers.
Just even that, why do I have to do it the way I've always done it? And how could it be if I did it differently? So thank you, because you are engaging in an act of rebellion with us today. You barely met us. You've known Sofia, but also we just came and bombarded you, and you graciously agreed to be our guest today. We love to have people who are out there living it and showing us what we need to think about, because sometimes education gets disconnected from the real world. So thank you for giving us a glimpse of that.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the rebellious heart of art. Remember, the power of creation lies not just in the final product, but in the courage to express your truth, challenge the norm, and live authentically. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, keep creating, and keep daring to see the world differently. Thanks for joining the conversation.